When working with inequalities, there are two types of inequality intervals rather that I would like for us to distinguish or to know, right? Now, the first interval is the finite interval. Now, what the final interval in a finite interval, what I need you to remember is that a finite interval has two endpoints, and by that, let me just make a note here. Critical thing you need to remember that a finite interval has two endpoints. End points. Okay, now what do we mean by that? I have a number line here. Let's use it, and maybe it will become a lot clearer to you as what we're speaking about. Now let's say at this number line, let me just make a quick note. My number line is in years, so let me just make a note here that this number line is in years. Okay, years. So let's say we're speaking about the year. So this would be 1 year, that would be another year, that would be another year, that would be another year. Let's just mark these off quickly. So let me change my color. So let's say this is the year 1990. And then this would be the year 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994. This is a 4. Good. Let me just write that properly. This is a 4. Good. This would be 1995. This would be 1996. And this would be the year 1997. Now, what do I mean by a finite interval and two endpoints? So let's use a quick example to illustrate that. Now, let's say Mark started college in the year 1991 and he finished college in the year 1996. Now, if I'm asking Mark between which years did he attended college, Mark would have said I had attended college in the year I started college in the year 1991. Hence, if you notice what I'm doing, I'm putting a circle at that point, okay? And then I'm going up to the year 1990. Let's say 1996 he had finished then, okay? So he would have finished in 1996. So I'm putting another point at the year 1996. So the point that he started would be called an endpoint. My bad. So when he started, this point here in 1991 would be our first endpoint, okay? So that's an endpoint. And the year when he finished, that would be our second endpoint. So that's what we mean when we're speaking about endpoints. We're speaking about this region, these years in which Mark attended college, okay? So that's a key thing that you need to note when working with a finite interval, is that a finite interval usually has two distinguished points, two distinguished endpoints, okay? Now, in an infinite interval now, this only has one endpoint. So an infinite interval has one endpoint. Now, again, let's say I'm working with years. So let me just make a quick note here. My number line, I'm working with years. Okay, guys. So let's say that this is the year 2015. Let me just make some quick notes here. So this would be my first year. That would be my second. Let me just mark these off quickly. Okay, good. Now let's say this is my year 2015. Let me change my color. Let me use a green. So let's say that this is the year 2015. Then this would be 2016, 2017. This is the year 2018, 2019. This would be the year 2020. This would be the year 2021. And this would be the year 2022. Now, let's say then that you were asked this question: when will the world end? Okay, now no one knows when the world will end. So if for argument's sake you are in the year 2017. Let's say you're in the year 2017, then you would mark your point at 2017. And let's say a friend of yours asks you, when will the world end? Then no one knows when the world will end. So that would represent an infinite, because no one has an idea of when the world will end. So you couldn't give them a date nor a year. So you would say, okay, since it's 2017, the world will continue forever. Okay, so it will go on and on and on in that direction. Now, again, another example. Let's say you're in the year 2015. This is a second example. Let's say, well, 2016. Let me use 2016. Let's say you're in the year 2016 in the second example, and someone asks you, when did the world began? Since no one knows when the world began, then you couldn't give them a date nor an hour when the world began. So you would say, well, civilization takes place sometimes down there in infinity. So you couldn't give them a starting point. You could only mark the year that you're in. Okay, so that would be your endpoint. So this would be an endpoint in this respective example, and this would be another endpoint in this respective example. Remember, these are two different examples now. All right, this example has nothing to do with that. We asked two different questions. Okay, all right. Now, if this video has helped you in any way, feel free to rate it, leave a comment, or even subscribe to the channel. All right. If you have any questions, you can post your questions and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Bye.